they're all in high school playing sports, so they all have a phone.
Okay.
The
Smartphones or just flip phones?
No smartphones.
Oh,
And what I'm using, this OBS also allows me to uh, see the chat in on YouTube.
okay.
Okay, so on your phone, go to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Do you see us live?
Yep. It says we'll do it live with two exclamation points, live in all caps.
Hmm. Can you turn the volume up on your phone? Do you hear us talking?
Yep.
Okay.
We did it.
We did it. We're
We're
doing it
here.
live. We're doing it live.
We'll do it live. I
We'll do
love
it
that.
live.
I love that clip. It remains a classic to me. For those of you unaware, we are Market Fire Podcast. We are a business news and current
Mhm.
events podcast. We talk about business current events here. We have been on hiatus. Now,
All
if you've
Danny's fault.
seen, well, that's kind of true. If you've seen, I put out an apology video on what is now called All Pod Cuts, All Pod Media Cuts. We have formed a podcasting network, which we now have two podcasts, which is Market Fire, as well as a new one called Church is Canceled, which I do with my former
Hmm.
podcasting partner from a different project called Fluffers for Hire, which we have to burn all of those episodes because
Danny
we're going to go to
refuses to
prison.
work with me all the time, so we had to find,
Well, so we're doing this. This is going to be our new deal. We're doing this live now, right? We'll do it live.
do it
So,
live. So we're
um,
currently live on, obviously, on YouTube. In the future, we will be live on YouTube, Facebook at the same time, and
right,
TikTok once they approve
right,
us to do so. Until then, we'll be clipping these things up for that.
yeah. So, what we do here is we talk about the current events in the world of business, and I think the first one that we have is my good friend Ye, who just goes by Ye now,
Is
formerly
that
known
is
as
that right?
he formerly known as Kanye West, the former husband of Kim Kardashian West, attorney at law now. He's
Is he
buying
gonna go?
Parler.
Is he gonna go full Prince? Like just go by a symbol eventually? Because didn't Prince do that? Like name, then
Yeah,
Prince, and then
and Prince also interestingly had a religious, a public kind of religious conversion. I think he was
yeah.
a
Right.
not a Seventh Day Adventist, a witness, a Jehovah's Witness. Nonetheless, my good friend Kanye West, or Ye West, or just Ye
Yes.
as I call him, right? He's in my
Sure.
phone as Ye. Um, we hang out on our ranches, our budding ranches in Wyoming all the time.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
he's buying Parlor.
Well, okay.
Um,
Back up. Why
yeah,
is he saying? Because
yeah,
I'm saying he's saying that he's going to buy Parler.
okay.
But
Well, I
so
mean,
why is he saying he wants to buy Parler?
um, first of all, let me just say, I hear what you're saying, and I hear the skepticism in your voice. Don't you ever doubt my boy, okay? And I mean that
Oh,
with
I
all due
doubt.
respect. Don't ever. He's our guy now, okay? He's one of us now.
Oh, is
So
he?
I don't know what that means. Um, fun little fact: the CEO of Parlor,
Hmm.
George Waters, or I forget what his name is, George something, is the husband of Candace Owens. So this is a just hilarious story. But the reason he is saying that he's buying it,
Hmm.
and Robert is, or sorry, Big Man is skeptical
Hmm.
that the deal's going to close. I'm not.
No,
This is
sure.
nothing
Go
like.
ahead.
Let me just explain why. This deal is nothing like Elon Musk buying Twitter, and we're going to talk about that at some
We'll
point.
get into that too.
It,
Sure.
yeah, and here's why it's nothing like that. Because he's spending $44 billion. If Kanye, if Ye ends up spending more than $50 for Parlor, I'm going to be surprised, right?
Okay. Well,
Parlor,
they
Parlor.
just finished $56 million in funding raising, right? Parlor
Mhm.
did. So,
So let me explain something to you people. He will acquire Parlor for cheaper than a set of Red Octobers, brand new in box, never worn, no creases. He will spend less. I think those go for anywhere between 8 to 10,000 at the peak.
hmm.
Um, those are the his when he was collaborating with Nike, and I'm just saying he's going
Hmm.
to spend less to buy Parlor. So that's what I think he's going to do. So my good friend Ye he did a little eensy weensy teeny bit of anti-Semitism. Now,
Little bit. Not
yeah,
only did it a little bit, but on Twitter,
my
little bit.
yeah,
Like social media to the
well, he did
world,
it on
little bit.
Instagram. He did it on Instagram. So Instagram banned him, or they booted him. But let me just make something very clear before we get into it.
Hmm.
I myself, of
Hmm.
Jewish heritage, and for those unfamiliar or in disbelief, my nose. So yeah, that is
You realize that statement in itself is. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I mean, it's okay for me to say it.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that he was booted off of, and he has uh, I mean, better than working relationship, I guess you could say, with Candace Owens. So here's me not being surprised by it. But why don't you? Why is it that you're skeptical that he's going to close the deal? Like I said, it's not going to cost him anything, right? It's
Okay.
he's
For the same. All right. Look, Danny and I try to stick to business, right? We don't like leaning too much unless it's relevant to business of the political
right.
world in here. Of course, Mr.
Yay, yay,
Yay, I'm sorry, Mr. Yay,
yeah,
Kanye West, Mr. Yay, as you would say, or I would say, Danny Yay, Mr. Yay for me, because
yeah,
I don't know him. Mr. Yay is blaming his banning from social medias accounts, not
yeah,
because he said anti-Semitic things, not just
right,
one, but a couple of them. Okay, he's blaming it on the fact that, and I quote here: "In a world where conservative opinions are considered to be controversial, we
right.
have to make sure we have the right to freely express ourselves." End quote.
Yeah,
Now, it didn't work for a previous people that we know that have
right,
been kicked off of social media platforms with large following.
yeah.
They found
Which
those people found out
look,
very quickly. Go ahead.
let me make something very clear. The mistake the former president of this country made with his platform was not calling it Orange. Like he should have just called it Orange Social. Calling it Truth Social was a huge branding error. He should have embraced the meme because that's the only way to succeed in a breakout social media platform is if you call it Truth. No one like it's going to attract old people who just figured out how to use an iPhone. But if you call it Orange, you could have got me, and I'm a get. I'm a big get.
I have no comment on what Danny's
Okay,
statement just is,
so
but
there was one that came out after Parlor that was one of Trump's
Getter,
former aides. Getter, that's what it was called.
yes,
I
Getter.
couldn't remember what that was called. Okay,
Well, but here's what all of these people have figured out, right?
right.
Parlor, Getter, True Social, and a whole litany of others. Is it is extremely difficult to recreate Twitter, Instagram, any of these platforms, right? The only one that's been remotely successful about it in the last couple of years is TikTok, right?
Hmm.
And that they developed a whole different way of doing it using video that is now other ones are emulating Instagram,
Correct.
Facebook Reels, right? YouTube
Twitter.
Reels, all of this
Yeah.
stuff, right? So anyway, my
YouTube
point though
Shorts. Yep.
is your buddy Ye, right, Mr. Ye,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
is going to find out very quick if he does any research at all, much like Elon Musk did, and
Mm-hmm.
goes, it's it's not easy
Yeah.
to.
No.
He's not a big enough name to make. I'm sorry, and he's not going to like this either. Mr. Ye's not going to like this either. He is not a big enough name to pull the number of people that he would have to pull to Parlor to make it what he wants it to be.
Now let me tell you something. There's this little company out of Germany it was started when two brothers had a disagreement, and one brother took the shoe company and was called Ruda, and he changed the name to Puma. And the other brother, Adi Dassler, took his company, Adidas, and it became what it became. And decades later, um, Mr. Ye, as you've been so kindly referring to him, and I know he's going to appreciate that. I texted him. He actually said it's really cool of you to call him
Uh,
Mr. Ye.
hey, you know what? I give respect.
He will tell you, and other people in the marketplace will tell you, Kanye West was single-handedly responsible for the emergence of Adidas as a clothing company that mattered. Now there's been a lot of disagreements and unhappiness between the two parties, but he is single-handedly the one who was responsible for making Adidas cool to kids, right? Because
Sure.
it was all, and I think you were telling me one of your kids likes sneakers. It was
Mm-hmm.
exclusively Nike's game, and the rising tide lifts all ships. So what ended up happening was he made Adidas cool. Subsequently started, and that just that mental space that occupied the sneakerhead's mind that was strictly about
Mm-hmm.
Nikes and Jordans.
Jordans, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it became, oh, we can like Nikes too. That's allowed. I mean, we can like Adidas too because Ye
Sure.
is promoting Adidas. And then guess what happened? Vans started popping off. Flipping Under Armour started doing exclusive deals with ball players like Steph
Mm-hmm.
Curry,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, dude, and New Balance had a resurgence as like a cool brand because I mean, flipping Crocs did an exclusive with Post Malone. So so here's the thing: while I'm more skeptical of the Twitter deal with Elon Musk, I believe that Ye has the opportunity here. It's a sliver of an opportunity. Let me make that very clear. It is 1 in 100 million, 1 in 1 trillion, something absurd like
Mm-hmm.
that, right?
He would need a crap ton of investors. Look,
But
Mr.
here's the
Ye is
thing.
a billionaire. His estimated worth is about $2 billion, right? It's in that
Yeah,
ballpark. 90% of that actually coming from your aforementioned shoe deal, right? Like
yeah.
like the deal he has with
The
Adidas
Yeezy
for
deal.
Yeezys, right?
Yeah,
Yeezys, right? Is what makes up the bulk of that wealth. Not his music,
right,
not the
right,
insanity that he does with, different people and his going crazy
right.
every now and then and stuff like that. It's
Whoa,
the
whoa,
shoe
whoa,
deal.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah,
Hey, crazy does what crazy does. My point
Yeah.
though is he does not have the money that it would take to buy this by himself. So he would have to go out and get investors. Now, is a guy like Kanye West, Mr. Ye, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mr. Ye, does he have just a lineup of investors that will give him money based on his business acumen? I don't know. I'm asking this question genuinely.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. My perspective is that it's he's hilariously he is good friends with Elon Musk, and someone once asked Elon at one of those keynotes or whatever, one of those
Hmm.
fireside chats, who inspires you, and he goes, "Well, I mean Kanye West," and everybody laughed, but they are friends.
Well,
So it's
he's got
funny
his
that
own financial problems. We're going to get into in here in a little
I
bit,
know,
but so he's not
but
getting Elon's money.
he's not getting Elon's money. But here's what I will say: there's a so this parlor was initially funded by the Mercer family. They're a
Hmm.
family of like it's a the dad Robert Mercer is like a hedge fund guy, and they're known to be funding every you know pseudo right wing project. They were heavy backers of Brexit. So it's just funny. It's interesting to me that it, it seems like there's enough of an interest, there's enough of a push. Um, uh, Here's the thing though, like Yeezy also brought back Gap. Who cared about Gap for the last decade until they did a Yeezy Balenciaga collab, right? And it's like
His following, I'm not doubting. They're
so what I'm saying is
100% Yeezy followers, right? The
so
shoe
there's a
heads out there.
right the sneakerheads, yeah.
Yeah, the sneakerheads out there. I keep saying shoeheads, and Danny keeps correcting me to sneakerhead, and I appreciate that
Yeah,
because I am not hip. But the sneakerheads and his music fans, right, and even
right.
the people that aren't necessarily fans of his music that follow him from a celebrity standpoint. There are
Right.
definitely Yeezy fans
So
out there, Mr.
there's
Ye
a
fans out
so,
there.
so there's another convergence here that I, as an entrepreneur and thinker, is looking at, and that convergence is the young men of the Andrew Tate sphere
Oh,
who
but yeah,
who had to follow him to, and I love Andrew Tate, so your
no,
disgust
you
over
don't. But go ahead.
your disgust of Andrew Tate only makes him like me. It only makes me like him even more. I'm gonna
Danny's
do it
just
even
saying that
further.
to pander him. He's going to get us all canceled. We're talking about Yeezy, the former president, and
Yeah,
you know what I mean, Andrew Tate, all in one.
right.
Our first live
So
here.
there's a meaningful cross section of young men, young like
Sure.
teenaged boys, probably the age of your sons, who like I was at a family gathering over our break, and three of my nephews was like, "Have you ever heard of Andrew Tate?" And I was like, "This is before he got bounced, right?"
Uh
Those
huh.
kids will follow him to Rumble. I think. Let's say 40% of them followed him over to Rumble, right?
14 to 18, right? 14 to 18-year-old
Right.
men.
So this weird cross section of like young men who are edgy, right? Because it's when you're a young man, it's about being edgy, and what ends up being edgy now is like liking Ye because he's
Sure.
right. And
No,
let me
no,
just
I
say
get
this,
it. Tom
yeah,
Likas, right? If you remember Tom
yeah,
Likas at all, right?
yeah. I remember him, but I never cared for him. Let me just also say something, if I can. Do I have your permission to say something pseudo political now?
Sure, go ahead. We're doing it live. You say
Yeah,
whatever you want.
I mean, we'll find
I
out.
can't clip it out now. Everybody's gonna find out who you really are, Danny. Everybody's gonna
Right,
find it out, Bubba.
right. I'm not trying to hide it. Well, I am actually. No, the opposite. I am trying to hide it. But here's what this is exposed to me from a political perspective was that really nice, left of center white people, and I'm just going to say white people, and in that I'll include Jewish people. Do they have all of these ideas about supporting the black community, but they've never sat down and talked to a lot of black people. And the reason I know that's true is why
That
are
is,
any of you surprised? Okay.
that is not an accurate statement.
Well,
But all
I'm
right.
just saying if you know a lot of, and when I say black people, I'm going to now make a delineation. I'm talking about a black guy, a brother, right? Like he has a donk, right? He's got a lifted caprice on 30.
Stop it. Stop it. You're
And
going to go run through a bunch of cliches that's going
fine.
to get us in a bunch of trouble.
Yeah,
Okay,
but here's
stop
the
it.
problem. Here's the problem with that. I know these guys, right? I went to high school with them. It's fascinating to sit down and have a chat with them and talk to them about some of their ideas, and a lot of them are informed, maybe not religiously but socially, by you know various characters. I don't even want to say their names because kind of vicious attacks come after that.
Okay.
Of a a pseudo political religious political movement, and that tends to have some strains of anti-Semitism in it. And so no one should be surprised that there are a preponderance of African Americans or black. I didn't use that word ever. I say black people, because
As
I
you
know
should.
people from Africa who immigrated to America, and those
That
are
take a lot of offense to everybody else being called out. Yeah, yes, but
yeah,
we're not getting into that debate right now.
no, no.
But yes, you
I'm
are
just saying
you are
that
right. You are right.
there
You are
are
making an argument saying he has learned it's ingrained in what
there
he's
is
been
a
taught for very. And you are right. I grew up in South Dallas. I
mm,
agree with you that there was. My point though is Mr. Ye is an adult just like
it,
you're an
it
adult and I'm an
it
adult
shouldn't do that.
and we are responsible for the words that come out of our mouths, in this case the words that we put on these phones, right? So
Yeah,
that being the case, he should be, look, I believe in free speech, but that doesn't make for an accountability. Those are two different things, right? The fact is and here's the real thing that he doesn't even get. What he said that got him kicked off of the other social media platforms are
right.
also currently not able to say on Parler or Getter or Truth. They also
Hmm.
violate those community guidelines. So there is no platform that has true free speech. The fact is when you because all of these go through the same basic two platforms to get to you, whether it's the
Right.
iPhone, right,
Or the
the
yeah.
Apple the Apple Store, right?
Yep.
Apple App Store
Yep.
or Google's App Store,
Play Store.
right?
Yeah.
And to get on either one of those, you have to have basic community guidelines that
Right.
include hate speech, right? Misinformation, all these different kinds of things.
Anti-Semitism.
So the fact is he couldn't say what he said on any of them.
But now, Parlor has been yanked off of all of those um, app stores at various times, and they've got back on and
Mm-hmm.
got off. And I forget this guy's name, George Waters. I forget what this feller's name is.
For
But
what?
like I said, he is the he's the CEO of
Oh,
Parlor
George
and the
Farmer.
George Farmer, and
Mm-hmm.
the husband of Candace Owens. You know what's
Yes.
this is one of those things that just hurts me in my it hits me right in my toxic masculinity. When you Google George Farmer, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that like the autofill on Google is Candace Owens' husband. Like he's
Well,
not his own man. He can't be his own man.
he's not. No. Look,
I
Google separates things based on what people know about
search for
someone
yeah
and
yeah. So I don't know about Mr. Farmer's business acumen, but I get the distinct impression that he was made the CEO um, of Parlor as a favor to Candace, like on the behalf of the Mercers are like, fine, the other guy ran it in the ground and we all got in trouble, so now at least the
mhm.
CEO has a black wife, so we at least have some like we have a get out of jail free card, like we're doing diversity now.
Kanye's not going to buy anything and
That's
nobody's going to let him say what he wants to say. And even if
right.
they did, he couldn't make any money off of it. So it'd be a big hole of
Yeah.
money that would eventually just die out. So,
Now here's where I'm going to disagree with you. Ye is going to end up acquiring Parlor. He will turn it around in the same way that he made Adidas popular. And by the way,
mm-mm,
I'm a massive consumer of Adidas shoes. However, I tried putting on a pair of Yeezy 750s, the boot looking things. They look like
mm-hmm.
moon boots, and I thought they were so cool. Couldn't walk in them though. I couldn't take a step in them.
Because
I
your
mean,
ankle's not supposed to, it's
listen,
supposed to roll. It's supposed to,
yeah. So
yeah.
listen, I lived in Texas for a few years. I'm in the process of moving back finally.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that stuck with me, first of all, is HEB, Whataburger, all that stuff. But the real thing that really hit me where it matters is cowboy boots and why you should be wearing. Like I wear cowboy boots every day now.
Of course.
Um,
If you're wearing blue
and
jeans, you should be wearing cowboy boots.
yeah, so like I don't. Here's the thing, I own Adidas sneakers, but on a day-to-day, and I keep buying them. And the problem is, I never wear them. I only wear cowboy boots. I own 3 pairs of the exact same Justin boots in different colors. Um, Nonetheless, what I'm driving at here is I do believe he's going to closing on this deal, and I don't think he's. And here's what's going to happen: he's going to get funding from. There's enough money out there between Peter Thiel, right? I mean, Peter Thiel's, there's
No, there's
enough.
plenty of money out there, but Danny, the nail in his coffin, I don't think I can even read the direct quote of the
No,
last one he was able to say.
no, you
Like
can't.
you can't say that and then
Yeah,
turn around and
w-
get money from these big. Look, there are funds out there
w-
with trillions of dollars
yeah.
that
We're not your
write
mom's
checks every.
house, right?
Yeah,
We're not your mom's
right.
house.
We can't get away
We,
with the stuff your mom's house
yeah,
does. But my point is,
we
is,
don't have
is
a Nadav in the booth, so
right? So you
yeah,
can't. There are $1 trillion funds out there writing checks every day to
right.
investments and stuff like that. But are any of those willing to risk if you got a portfolio in the mail today that said, "Hey, we need $100 million, right? Or we need $30 million. We need $30 million, and the guy that wants to run it is Mr. Ye, and this is his why he wants it because this was the last 3 tweets that he put out on social media. Like,
Yeah.
would you sign off on that $30 million? You wouldn't.
So what else is interesting too is Ye was booted from his bank. Um, Chase, J.P. Morgan Chase, booted him off of there. Like he was debanked, and he was on very popular podcast called Drink Champs and talking about that. And what I find fascinating is,
Why
of
did they
course,
boot him? J.P. Morgan Chase.
because of what his anti-Semitic views.
Ah,
But what is fascinating is that they are so pro-Jewish um, that there is
they're
a
not pro-Jew.
right that they maintained Mr. Effrey Jepstein as a client. Now I can't say his name correctly, so I have to say Effrey Jepstein. But
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm just drawing this. I'm just pointing out what everybody else on Twitter's already pointed out.
Sure.
But no, I completely understand what you're saying. But here's what else I will say: Kanye West did not have a sterling reputation as a sane person that was easy to work with when a multi-billion-dollar clothing conglomerate Adidas took him on as a partner.
Sure.
Um, and by the time he did that deal with Gap and Balenciaga, they already like he was already like it was well established that he was a little off kilter, to be polite.
There were a few
And
bricks
and the
short of a
thing,
wall. Yeah.
yeah. And for me to here's the thing: I'm a capitalist. I'm a real capitalist, not a fake capitalist. I'm a real
Hmm.
down to the bone, profit over people kind of capitalist.
Danny
I'm
is
not.
that kind of capitalist.
But
Kind of.
yeah, I'm saying that just to be funny. But
Yes.
I'm an anarcho-capitalist, right? I believe in the market above basically everything. Like it's to me, it goes God, maybe my family, but mostly just the one person, which is my nephew, and then and then the market, and then the rest of my family, right?
Right. And then everybody else. Yes.
Right. Well, everybody else, it's not even on the
Doesn't
list.
make
There's
the
nobody else.
list.
Yeah, half of half of you makes the list. Neck up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, there's somebody out there who goes, I've got $25 million, and I'm willing to roll the dice that investing into Parlor is going to turn it into $1 billion, and they're going to make that bet because they already got $1 billion, so they're happy to throw 25 at him. And I believe there's enough of those people, and there only needs to be like two or three who are like, pseudo, like there's about
Here's where I'll meet you halfway.
mm,
If Mr. Ye was to try to fund this like what was the movie Super Troopers? Remember when they publicly
yeah,
funded their second movie and they were like, "Hey, we'll make this movie, but only if our fans pay for it." Essentially,
correct,
we're not going to Hollywood for this, and they
sure,
did. They made it like that. If Mr. Ye crowdfunds his purchase of Parlor, then you
yeah,
got a point because he definitely has a following, and getting that following to give $5 a piece. Hey, right? Or
And
$10 a piece or whatever.
there's a website or two that we covered on this very program. One of them is called WeFunder. The other one is called something else. I forget what it's called. Where you can go and
Oh, set up a company and buy shares.
yes.
Yes. See, if he did
So
something like that, he could
where
probably do it.
30 or 40% of the company goes to, and you can go buy up shares. And then let me tell you something. There's a company out there that was a blank check company that was supposed
Mm-hmm.
to do a reverse merger to take another alternative social media platform public,
Mm-hmm.
and they were in a SPAC. Now they were unable to do that because the founder of the company branded it Truth Social when he should have called it Orange. That's just me.
Anyway, but
Yeah.
yes, like the
So
look,
I'm just saying that special acquisition corporation still exists out there, right? It's
correct.
still out there. So there is and here's what I'm doing. I'm connecting the dots, baby. Okay, I'm on here connecting the dots like none of you are capable of doing, because I'm a super genius and you're all plebs. Now, I'm just
Yeah.
saying what's going to happen is that SPAC is going to end up reverse merging with Parler and taking it public. And then Yay is going to go from 2 billion to 15 billion.
See, this is why I wanted to do this live. The show is now live so that Danny can say these kind of things and y'all get to see what I've dealt with for years. Y'all now
This
get
is
to
not,
see.
yeah. So this is not financial advice, by the way. I'm not putting any money into this. It's going to zero. Okay. I
You're
just
fine
want
with
you
the
to,
billionaire giving him $25 million,
yeah.
but you
But if,
personally,
but if you, let's say you have $10,000 and you're thinking, oh, I could throw, 1,000 at this. Don't. It's going to zero. I mean, of course, we're speculating that even any of this could happen that way, but
sure, absolutely.
I'm correct about literally everything all the time.
Of,
So,
of course, that's what Danny thinks.
yeah, and that's what the facts tend to lay out. So what you were so let's jump into this next thing. You were explaining to me in the pre-show when we were talking
Uh huh.
something about the Elon Musk Twitter thing and X.
Yeah, so I still am of the opinion that Elon Musk may never own Twitter at all. I mean, here's part of it. And again, we kind of talked about this with Mr. Ye when it comes
Right.
down to money. Look, Elon Musk is a billionaire, one of the richest people in the world, right? Um, any given day, estimated 200-ish billion dollars, right?
Right.
Is his estimated value. What most people don't realize is the biggest chunk of that is ownership in companies,
Right.
right? The guy's not sitting on even $50 billion. He's not sitting on anything. The
He
man
has no
doesn't sit on
liquidity.
anything, right?
Right. Of course not.
So he has no liquidity. So if he was going to purchase Twitter, he would need other people's money, and half of his investors have already said, I'm out. Now, he
Right.
probably had the 54 billion, you know what I mean, at one time, but he doesn't anymore.
So, and this is one thing that always I gripe about all the time on Twitter, which is when people who don't know anything about how our economy is structured, they start
Mm-hmm.
talking about these billionaires and we should start taking their money. None of these billionaires have a penny. I bet you
Right.
I have more cash in my wallet than any billionaire has ever.
Because
And
that's once they take it out, it's taxed, right? So they don't.
correct. So a lot of what you'll see is they have debt because debt is untaxed. So what they do is, like something that Amazon, I'm sure Amazon does. I don't know for a fact. We'll use them as an example. I'm sure Tesla does this too. The trademark is owned by a company that's offshore in a low or no tax,
Yeah, no tax subsidiary. Yeah.
you know. And so what happens is the trademark. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Tesla, the car company, well, actually has to pay. Oh, last year we made $8 billion. Unfortunately, we have to give 7.9 billion to this, company in Maritania.
That owns the intellectual property,
They
right?
own our IP, so
And
we have to give all
licensing
this.
just happened to be $7.9 billion last year.
This I know, and they have these rolling agreements between. It's all
Sure.
nonsense paperwork. Which is when I say, my views tend to be pure free market, and I hate the. I mean, the term free market is enough. The reason I'm a market guy is there is so much nonsense, paperwork shuffling that people are doing to avoid taxes. That if we just opened the market and said you don't have to pay anymore, we're going to unlock billions and billions and billions of dollars that people are spending on attorneys and accountants of in tax avoidance. Which God bless you. This is your God given right. But I'm just saying it's such a waste of time and human capital to be going after that, and that will end up invested in the market and turns into jobs and stuff like that. But I just pulled this up on the BBC, known to be fake news. Um,
That's not true, but go
X,
ahead.
the app for everything.
Yeah, so
So
he wants to, his idea, along with Tesla, along with the, what is it, the Tesla robot, or the, you know what I mean? Whatever
yeah,
he's
the
got for
Tesla bot.
that,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Tesla bot, along with Cybertrucks that were supposed to come out with 3 years ago, along with a
right.
lot of the stuff that Elon Musk says, he's like, oh, if I buy Twitter, what I want to turn it into is I don't know how many of our listeners would be familiar with Web 3.0, right? You got Web 1.0, which was the beginning of the internet, dial up, where you could
You know,
essentially go to a web page, not interact with it at all, or send an email. That was essentially Web 1.0. Web
hey,
2.0, go ahead.
you know what's crazy is one of Joe Rogan's guests in Web One was a Web 1.0 guy who was suing AOL because you were able to access CP, which is you can't I can't even say the words. And AOL's rule was three strikes and you're out, and not just zero tolerance. And they're like, we're
Okay.
really sorry. Like it was, but I'm just saying, like that's the Wild
That's
West of
that's
the internet.
hilarious. But okay, so Web
Scary.
1.0 was that. Web
Yeah.
2.0 was essentially what we now know as
Yep.
social media sites.
Yep.
Essentially, we gave social media the power, right? We all check the box of
E-commerce. Yep.
accept the terms and conditions, right?
Right.
And they own all of the data that we give them, right? Web 3.0 is what Elon Musk is really literally referring to, where essentially you have what he calls a
Decentralized.
lifestyle app, where you
Right. So,
control all of your data, all of your
right.
videos, all of your social medias, all of your whatever, and he wants to call it X.
Which is interesting because PayPal, the company that he ended up merging with, what he two companies merged and became PayPal, and that's what made him a billionaire. Was he sold off to eBay or whatever? The original app that he had created was called X. It was just called X.
Okay, I didn't know that, but
So
all right.
he's bringing the brand back. You know what I'm saying? I love it.
Well,
It's a
but again,
throwback.
it's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale. Again, now Elon Musk has done a lot. Big fan of Elon
Yeah.
Musk, but he says a lot. Very
Hmm.
few of what he says comes to complete fruition, right?
Well,
We have
yeah,
Teslas, we have Tesla cars, but we all know, if you know anyone that has a Tesla car, you know they're
right.
not very well made cars. Okay, they're
And
just not.
here's
Yes,
the
they're an
funny
electric
part.
car, but go ahead.
Right, but no, I was just gonna say here's the funny part is you can drive around to any like large luxury dealership,
Hmm.
and here's what you'll see in their used aisle: Teslas. Like there's an Infinity dealership not too far from me. I was looking at buying a large SUV, and it's like, why do you have 30 Teslas at your Infinity dealership?
Because they drive them for 6 months and find out they're pieces of garbage, and then they turn them in for what is a real luxury car, right? But again, Tesla, he did create cars eventually. That was a decade after he said he was going to, but he did.
Right,
He did create the satellites that he said he was going to do. It took several years, and they're still not up to what they're what he said they were going to
correct.
be.
But
But
he's
he
but they're
did.
out there,
There are satellites up
right?
there, right? That are running internet, right? And there are people, I know people out in rural areas that are using them, that gave them access to high speed, what is considered high speed internet, right?
Star,
In
you have
those
people
areas.
using Starlink.
Yeah, so Starlink stuff. Well, people that live out in the middle of nowhere and that they
Yeah,
get high speed internet. Now, what it hasn't worked the way they thought it would or the way
of
he
course not.
promoted it. But
Of
again,
course not.
so this is my point, and eventually we'll get a Cybertruck, even though the inflation has caused the price of products to go up so much that they're going to be what Tesla cars were in the original, right? Originally, they're
Right.
going to be very expensive. But so what he says does not always come to fruition, and especially in the timelines that he's talking about.
Yeah, so that part I'll agree with. Nothing. If you look at it, like there are people who paid, I think, 10 grand to get full self driving, and they were supposed to get it like in 2018, and they
Hmm.
paid him for it in 2014, and it's
Hmm.
2022, and they still don't have it.
Of
But
course not.
what I find fascinating is I don't think that Elon Musk ever set out to become a personal firebrand. Like I don't think his goal was ever to be Elon Musk, you know, entrepreneur, right? I don't think that was
Right.
his goal ever.
Right.
And he's talked openly about having Asperger's, and that's a disorder that kind of makes you awkward in social situations.
Uh
I
huh.
I just don't understand how this guy became this thing, right?
I think he was made out of necessity, right? Necessity
Mm,
brings ingenuity. I think he's a really smart engineer. Not the most genius, but he's a smart engineer.
right.
And he started with a company and he became the guy that they put out in front of people. Because for an engineer, he talked really well, right? He's charismatic for an
He's
engineer.
he has
Um,
no formal education as an engineer. That's the part that blows my mind.
well, but again, I'm sorry. I'm not a huge proponent of you have to have. I hate the whole paper ceiling thing of degrees and whatever. The
I'm
fact
not
is,
that
the
guy
man's an
either.
engineer. He is.
No, no, I'm not
Okay.
disagreeing with that categorization. And I'm also just going to make a side point here, as a side note, and just say that I'm totally okay with the Musk family, all the Musk men going out there and impregnating everybody wall to wall. I'm cool with it.
That's why he just started calling them XY and XYZ and like sure. Who knows at this point how many Musk children?
Little grouse that
Low
the
growth, low growth,
little grouse that old man Musk made a baby with his stepdaughter. Little grouse,
low growth.
little
But anyway,
grouse.
my point though is so he was out there making these outlandish claims. And
Yeah,
eventually, most investors, it comes time to pay the piper. And I think
right,
his original idea, and you and I have talked about this before, I think his original idea was to come up with these inventive things and then sell them off to other companies, like
right.
Tesla. I think he intended on selling Tesla to Ford, General Motors, Toyota, somebody a decade
Right.
ago, and let
Oh,
them
100%.
run with the idea.
He
Um,
openly said that. And he also said if the only thing that happens is Tesla makes electric cars popular and then goes out of business, he's fine with that. Now, I don't think that's the case anymore. I would say that, he said that 10 or 15 years ago, and the company was still emerging
well,
as a
now he's
real
building these
player.
factories to build these cars and stuff like that, right? So he has to say, hey, I want to build these cars. But those manufacturing companies can easily be bought up by Ford, Toyota,
Hmm.
any number of big companies that turn around and want to build electric vehicles out of the same factories.
You know what's fascinating, though, is I think that there was a period of time where I would have said that I could imagine a company like Volkswagen acquiring Tesla because they're the when it comes to acquiring car companies and really making them profitable, Volkswagen has been the
Mm-hmm.
company to do it. They've in my lifetime they acquired Bentley, Porsche, which I always thought Porsche was part of Volkswagen, but they acquired them, Audi,
Right.
Lamborghini. So they've had the track record of success with that. But I think Tesla's too big. I think their market cap is too large for anybody to come acquire them. But here's the problem. I think what Elon Musk desperately wants is just for someone to take over Tesla because he's open. We've all heard I forget what court case it was. It was in Delaware or something, and in the deposition testimony, he said something like, "Yeah, I really don't like being the CEO of Tesla." He's like, I'm desperately trying to get out of it, but he's the
Of
only
course.
guy. He's the only guy that I think can do the job.
Well, but guess what? A lot of his stockholders in Tesla want him out too, because they see everything. Everything he look. He's under SEC investigation right now for
That
that.
doesn't count for anything.
No, and I agree with you. It doesn't count. My point though is it's a distraction to your shareholders. That's the
True.
important thing, right? You
Right.
say SEC to shareholders, and at the very least, it makes them nervous. So he's under SEC, investigation. He's this whole Twitter mess, right? All of this stuff is a distraction to them as a stockholder wanting to be
Right.
like, hey, he's not paying attention to Tesla and running the company if all of these other things are going on.
And let me just say something else. If you're a Tesla shareholder, as a car guy, I would tell you I'm a little concerned that, I mean, if I go and buy a 2022 Model S or a 2012 Model S, they look the same. And you can't go and in 10 years look at a Camry Ford Taurus or a
Mm-hmm.
Chevy Suburban, and well, I guess Suburban, but in 10 years, see the exact same vehicle, and you're a luxury brand. Luxury brands are usually the ones that are a little more like, here's the new like Mercedes is always having like an updated version or
Right.
whatever. So, like, and now the guy who designed Tesla's Fisker is Heinrich Fisker is the guy who designed the Model S, is now coming out with his own electric brand. I mean, he's failed 3 times at starting a car company, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But all this aside, this is about Twitter and the X app, which he says is going to be the everything app. But here's my question, Elon: why you selling burnt hair cologne on through one of your companies?
And
Why
made
you
like
that?
$3 million in a couple of days.
Hey, good for him. I mean, listen, I think I forget who texted it to who, but you're like, it's like that company you like, and I'm like, no, no, no. You were talking about Mischief, which is we've done a segment on that company,
Sure.
but Elon Musk executes these meme products at a
Mm-hmm.
at a scale and speed that Mischief could only dream of doing, and because it's Elon Musk, everybody just goes, "Oh, pay for it."
Right.
Like,
Remember the flamethrower he came out with?
it's not a flamethrower, by the way. That is not a flamethrower, legally speaking.
It's
It
a
is
torch. What
literally,
is it?
um, they use those roofers use like a torch to heat up the tar or whatever when they're laying down a roof. And he literally said all we did was we took a commercially available roofing torch. I don't know what the proper term is.
Sure.
I know like 10 guys who are roofers that are yelling at me right now, I'm sure.
Right.
And he stuck that in a squirt gun.
That
That's
is
literally all it is. He took the
I
body of a squirt thingamajig. I shouldn't have
I
said that.
have no doubt. I have no
Yeah.
doubt you were 100% correct. My point
So
though is he sold a crap ton of them and made money off of them. Okay, and that so I think that's what he wanted to do. Like we said, from a Tesla
burnt hair.
standpoint, he wanted to do the same
Yeah.
thing. Hey, we figured out how to make an electric car. General Motors, you make cars. Here's that, right?
Yeah.
Starlink satellites. No, hey, here's a good way to send up a bunch of satellites all at one time. They do these two things really well, and they're really inexpensive to make. We can shoot up 1 billion of them, and here, federal government or whoever it would be, here you go. Here's the idea. Pay us for it so we can go on to the next thing.
Right.
Twitter, I think Twitter, I don't know that Elon Musk ever wanted to buy Twitter. I think it was a good, hey, I don't like what they're doing and I want to say what I want to say. And I'm a
Right.
billionaire, one of the richest people in the world. So if I want to say I'm going to buy Twitter, I'm going to say it, right?
Right.
And then he's going to turn around and go, well, okay, I really didn't want it. Because look, Michael, and I think we talked about this with Twitter before. Michael Dell sold Dell Computers a long
Right.
time ago. He went public and he sold Dell Computers, and they
Right.
booted Michael Dell off of the board
The
running the company.
right.
And then the company took a nosedive because nobody knew what the hell they were doing. And then
Right.
Michael Dell came back in, and the Dell family bought Dell back and made it
Right.
private so that he could make the changes that he needed to make the company profitable and Dell again, right?
Right.
But he could only do that by taking it private again.
Right.
For Twitter to grow into what it needs to be to sustain
Right.
itself over the next decade,
Correct.
it needs to be taken private, is the belief in most people's mind, right?
Right.
Is it needs to be taken private so there's no one second guessing your decisions and the numbers and the profits. You go, no, we're going to do this. We're going to take the 6 months and people are going to like it eventually. And we're going to do this and this and this.
Right.
The problem is does Elon Musk want to spend 25% of his fortune,
Right.
even if he had access to it, which he doesn't, but
Right.
even if he
Which is
did, would you
right.
spend 25% of your fortune taking a company public and doing all of that work that you and I just said that we don't necessarily know that he wants to be a CEO of anything, right? Does that sound like a guy? And this whole, well, they sued him to get him to buy it. Well, and he's already said, well, okay, I'll buy it, but I'll buy it for $10 billion less than what I said I was going to buy it for.
Is that what
At
happened? He marked it down by
$44 billion instead of
Okay.
$54 billion. But
Right.
then he's filed all these things saying, well, half of his investors have backed out from the original thing. So he has a timeline, right? He has a timeline till late October to find his funding, or they can turn around and take him back to court. So this whole thing was supposed to be done by now, but he's
Right.
found a way to postpone it. Guess what? This is what billionaires do, by the way.
Yeah, no, he's long playing them. He's going to end up buying it for, if he ends up closing on it, it's going to be 30 billion is my guess. But here's what he exposed, or at least my belief is that he made the offer to acquire Twitter because he wanted to expose how fake Twitter was, and it was full of bots. And
Sure.
his argument that he, when he didn't buy it, was that it's full of bots and they're refusing to show me how many bots they have. And the fact that I think he's done an excellent job at exposing that to the public. And now when I tweet something political, as some of you may or may not know, I'm on my third or fourth Twitter account. I've been banned a few times. Um, not for the reasons Mr. Ye was banned, but I may have done a racism, which I don't even know how is possible, but against
Hmm.
someone of my own race, by the way, which is also
It's still ist,
confusing.
Danny. It's still
No,
ist. All right.
it's not.
Anyway,
He
go ahead.
deserved it. He's only said one funny thing in his entire life, and he's a comedian. Um,
This is a hot
Nonetheless,
button topic for Danny, by the way. He gets all butthurt. But go ahead.
yeah,
Anyway,
still,
yes.
still, yeah. Anyway, what I'm just saying is, now when I tweet something, someone's like, "Oh, you're a bot." Here's the thing: before this whole thing with Mr. Musk, no one would have ever used that accusation as a. They would have never slurred you that way. So the point is, he created a mainstream awareness that the platform was overrun by bots. And the fact that there's a bunch of people who are like, "Oh, maybe I'm being suppressed. Like maybe my tweets are being suppressed." What's
Hmm.
funny is if those people are like, "That's weird. My tweets got 1,000% more interaction the minute the deal was on with Musk. They got way
Hmm.
more interaction. They got more followers. Then the deal was off. They went back to being suppressed. And now the deal's back on. So they're back like, hey, everybody's seeing my stuff again. So it's very interesting whether or not, and that's a conspiracy for lack of a better term, but it feels true to me that they're probably suppressing one particular group of people's tweets, and one particular group of people's getting banned. And I think that maybe Elon's onto something in that regard.
No, no, I don't think so. That particular group of people gets banned because they're the ones committing the things that
The
adults
truth and the
should
facts,
know
yeah.
not to do.
Nope, truth and
So,
facts and the
anyway,
reality.
we've talked about two different publicly traded companies now. Before we get into one of Danny's really crazy stories, which is business related, I want to talk to you, Danny, about a little bit of ingenuity. I want you to put you in this mindset for me, okay? All right. So this guy gets arrested, and he has warrants, right? Now, he has warrants, and we all know what warrants are, right? And you get arrested for something stupid. You have to now deal with the warrants, right, and that kind of stuff. So this guy's defense on he was trying to pay his warrants, Danny. He was trying to pay his warrants, Danny. You know how he was trying to pay for his warrants, Danny?
How's that?
He got caught stealing catalytic converters.
Okay.
So his idea for dealing with his warrants that he said in court after getting caught stealing, and hey, I'm just trying to do the right thing, Danny. I'm trying to get rid of my warrants and pay my warrants
Can I
by
tell you
stealing
something?
people's catalytic converters.
Right. Some people look at a subdivision and they go, wow, look at all these people wasting their lives. I look at a subdivision and go, there's 2 cars per household, there's 50 houses, that's 150 that's 100 catalytic converters,
Uh
500
huh.
bucks a pop. That's because I'm an entrepreneur and you're a sucker. Okay.
See, I knew Danny would enjoy this story. See, Danny has no problem with it. Danny, this guy's a hero, right? He's a
Okay.
capitalist. He's a, you
No,
know,
he is a vile criminal for stealing people's catalytic converters. I'm a private property advocate.
uh
I'm just saying there's the reptile part of my brain that goes, yeah, boy, get it in, dog.
huh. Well, I mean, you gotta say, hey, there's some ingenuity there. I mean, like, it's,
So this feller goes to court,
uh huh.
and then what?
That was his excuse. He's like, I was trying to take care of my
Oh,
warrants, Judge.
that's why I was stealing
That's why I
catalytic
was
converters.
stealing catalytic converters. That is his defense. That's his.
See,
That bam. That's
here's
his
something.
mic drop. See,
Yeah.
Judge, I was trying to pay
Yeah.
off my warrants.
So he was trying to address his warrants with the court, and
Uh-huh.
he in the course of doing that, he got picked up for stealing catalytic converters. Is that what is
Mm-hmm.
that the okay?
Yes.
Let me just give a piece of advice to this young man, wherever you are. Best of luck in all your endeavors. You can achieve greatness in your lifetime. Now, it is stupid
Memphis,
to go to
Tennessee.
court. Okay, well, all of a sudden the demographics of this individual have become very obvious to me.
Mm-mm. No, Danny.
Yeah.
That's an ist. Stop being an
Yeah.
ist. Go ahead.
Right. By the way, the one of my friends used to run a security company in Memphis, Tennessee, and just said, he's a very forward-thinking, progressive individual, and he just said it's one of those things like he had to move because he's like it was making me feel weird stuff because I can't say what he was thinking, but it's an
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
nonetheless, do not go to court and say anything about
Mm-mm.
committing an act of freelance entrepreneurship. It's stupid of you to have said that.
Don't say anything to anyone.
And this, what you're going to notice as we move to this live stream format is I have this very strict idea of what I want the show to be. Big Man doesn't. He wants it to be other things. And we're going to be locked in this epic struggle like, Epicurus and the Stoics are always locked in. So it's fine. And I'm just going to have to roll with the punches. I think it's stupid, but that's not the point. It reminds me, sometimes when I'm having trouble falling asleep, I listen to
Uh-huh.
one of two things: court depositions, and I love the ones where it's like a CEO of $1 billion company because they're just lying so well, and I really love that. But there's another thing which Karen's, which is like just like Karen's going nuts.
Yeah.
And my favorite one, big man, is a lady who called the cops because she paid somebody for some pipe candy
All right.
and they took her money. And
Well,
she
see,
just
this are these two boyfriend and girlfriend? Like, is this? Do they live in the same building?
let's just say this young lady was probably no more than 30 years old, looked like she was 70, okay? Looked like she was the crypt keeper on her way to the hereafter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No teeth, by the way. And my guess is they weren't knocked out. They just disintegrated from the lots of pipe candy. And she calls the cops and she says, well, I gave this so-and-so, I gave them $50 and they took it and I just want my $50 back. And the cop goes, so it was for drugs? And she goes, yeah, but what does that have to do with anything?
What does that do? He stole my $50. Okay, all right. All I'm saying is this is
I
an
believe in
entrepreneurial
people.
show. This guy had an entrepreneurial thought. It was not a legal one, but it was an entrepreneurial thought.
And we all know that I don't really believe in the law. So,
Danny is an anarcho-capitalist. He is
that's correct. Yeah.
he does follow the philosophy of anarchy will solve all of our problems.
No, I
and
don't. Actually, that's not true, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Um,
all right, Danny. So go ahead.
no. Continue. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna go to the one of Danny's favorite stories that he has listed here today is
The
a
Patagonia story?
no, the water,
Oh.
the water.
Oh, man. I don't know. I mean, so this is one of our, now they're a former sponsor, but I still think, as we're going through this rebrand, where did I go? Here we are.
Oh, there you are, doing it live.
Doing it live. Liquid Death,
Yes, liquid
our
death.
former sponsor,
Mm-hmm.
is now valued based on their investment to Liquid Death. They're valued at $700 million.
I love this for them. I love this
Hold
for
on.
them.
one second. Let me just pass out and die. It's water in a can. Okay.
It's not
Now
even really filtered water, like it's
let me
tap
make
water in a
something.
can.
Let me make something very clear here. I loved this company when they first came out because their
Yes.
marketing it was so good, and there's always a part of me that when I fall in love with a product or a brand, it's the real place that it's coming from is my love is coming from a place of animosity that I didn't come up with that idea because it is so good. Now what's weird is they've recently come out with this thing. It's called the Liquid Death Country Club, where you can send them. It's 125K to join, but if you send them a sample of your blood for I don't know how they because it's mostly illegal to do that, to just send it through the mail. A Wiccan or some sort of witch will cast a spell over it, and
Some sort of witch.
you can sell your soul to them. Now, here's the problem I have. I'm a religious guy, um, and now I don't think you can actually sell your soul. That's not something I believe in. I don't. I mean, I think witches are probably just mentally unwell people, mentally unwell women. Let's just be honest. There's like two
No,
warlocks.
no, I disagree with Danny entirely.
Of
This
course you
is
do.
Danny again being another ist. Go
Uh-huh.
ahead, keep going.
I'm just saying though that that was the one thing. Like that was like all the talk about killing children, like energy drinks, like one or two kids die a year, but water's murdering everybody. Like I loved all
Mhm.
of it. But the minute you started talking about selling your soul and witches, I was like, uh,
Well, okay, the company's called
uh,
Liquid Death, right? So
yeah,
Danny is uh, he is a marketing guy. Like he
mm,
loves good logos, he loves good branding,
very
and
true.
that's why we went and sought out Liquid Death in our very first iteration of our second iteration of our
Yeah,
podcast, right? And we went out and sought to partner with them because of it. Like it was a
right.
unique,
Yeah,
very unique
and
branding and that
and
kind of
and
stuff.
and at that time, I had to go to whole paycheck to buy a case because you couldn't find one anywhere. I
I
just walk
actually
in.
had to order it off of their website because there was nowhere near me that actually sold it. Now that's not true now, but
They're
it
at
at the
Target,
time.
and there's a part of me that is so taken aback, but not surprised by their move to market the way they're marketing. There's a part of me that goes, "Do I need to start a competitor?" Like, but no, I'm not going to. Let me tell you what's going to happen with Liquid Death. In the next 4 years, Liquid Death will be acquired by Nestle for $2 to $8 billion. I don't know how much, but that's the play here. That's the play for any drinks company, as they
Hmm.
might say in the UK. Any company that's selling anything that you drink, the goal is never to like you're never. Here's what I promise you: Liquid Death is not profitable. They're not making a penny. They are in debt up to their neck. They're losing money left and right.
Well, they're
But
on track to revenue this year, on track for $130 million in revenue this year. Now that's revenue. That's not God knows
but
what they're spending, and they're probably
that's the
bleeding
thing.
money to their original,
They're
creators and stuff like
right.
that.
Their marketing is so on point. And here's let me just make this very clear: Liquid Death is not a water company. They're a marketing company.
One
Right?
hundred percent. There's no
It's
reason that an aluminum can that is, yes, it's a large, what we
yeah,
used to call big boy beer
tall
cans, right?
boy, a tall boy.
Tall
Yeah,
boy,
a tall boy. That's
beer
their name. Yeah,
cans, tall boy beer cans, and filled with tap water,
yeah.
and a cool looking
Sparkling
skull,
tap water. Sparkling tap water.
on the outside, right?
Right.
And it's a marketing company that is selling 200 and 300% marked up
Right.
aluminum cans with water in them, and because they've got a skull on them, and we live in the kind of the hipster, you know what I mean, that everybody
Right.
loves marketing, and now they've jumped up to this huge amount of
It's
revenue,
it's
which I didn't know
actually
until this article that you sent me. Their
yeah.
original round of funding came from Dollar Shave Club, the two brothers that started that way back when, which makes sense,
It makes
right? Kind
sense
of.
because and now when you say that, I feel like I knew that information, but it had been deleted from my brain for more pertinent information about engines or something.
Oh, I'm sure.
Y Yeah, you're probably right there. I mean, it's I'm not surprised.
No.
It makes perfect sense because Dollar Shave Club's that I'll never forget Dollar Shave Club's first ad, that tracking shot with the CEO where he's
Hmm.
walking around their factory And I mean, I think he like, they take some of the stuff that they wrap pack like pallets in, and he chops it with a machete. It's it's classic, dude. Um,
Hmm.
we're gonna start doing a segment on this podcast. I'm just saying this out loud right now. We're on our Patreon where we discuss my favorite ads. And just
Sure.
like 2 minutes ago, Big Man made me talk about some dumb piece of news that he was really like, he tried to turn it into a business story. No, it was not. But
Just
I
talking, it
rolled
was
with the.
very entrepreneurial, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, Muffin. So I'm just saying, like like I went with it. I'm going to force him to be like, look at this branding, isn't it really good? Big
Yeah.
Man and I differ so much when it comes to what we appreciate about branding. Um, I
Danny's a minimalist. He doesn't know what
uh,
he's talking about.
that's
Go
untrue.
ahead.
But I will say this much. I will admit I am a sucker. If you have good branding on something, I purchased. I hate Scotch, by the way. Hate it. Don't like how it tastes. I don't even like alcohol anymore. I've turned into one of those people who I'm just like I'm too old for this. Give me a gummy that's gonna send me to,
The
planet
moon and back?
Sunbeam.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to drink all of this stuff, and it's gonna take forever. Um, I bought a bottle of scotch because it had a nice brand on it, and the bottle was a cool shape, and like the branding on it was really good. I took one sip. It was gross. I hate it. But
But you
that's
got
how
to
it's gonna.
admit, we should do that on one of our branding Patreons. And again, we're kind of, we're doing it live here. But we should do that on a Patreon and talk about branding
Yeah.
and these big movie stars and basketball
Right.
stars, sports stars, or whatever, creating their own alcohol brands and stuff. Matthew
Yep.
McConaughey has one, right? And all
Hey,
these.
listen.
Mark
uh,
Wahlberg has one. And you
uh,
talk about marketing.
Yeah.
Like, marketing.
Let me tell you something. You're incorrect. I'll tell you how. It's actually the reverse. A alcohol company goes, all right, we need X number of funding, X number of dollars of funding.
Hmm.
If we go to George Clooney and say we're starting a tequila company, we're gonna sell you 40% of the business so you can be the face of
Right.
it. And here's the thing: George Clooney he probably made $1 billion on that one transaction.
Hmm.
Terramana, which is the Rocks tequila. I
Yeah.
100%, I guarantee you. Like, and here's where I learned that from was George Foreman said he was in a meeting where a company and companies would just he would rent out a boardroom, and various companies would come and pitch him products to say, do you want to call this the George Foreman vacuum,
Hmm.
the George Foreman headset, Raycon earbuds? Like,
Sure.
Ray J has little to no marketplace value, except for he's not even popular because of his music. He's popular because, well, we all know why he's popular. Everybody loves a comeback story. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, but you're right in that I have no doubt that's the way it went. My point, though, is in the last 10, 15 years, we went from the alcohol industry has always been one of tradition, right?
yeah,
That these old brands that have stayed the
right,
same forever. And then you fast forward this transition the last 10 or 15 years with these brand partnerships and these
correct,
limited edition, right, of these things. You now have these smaller brands, beer, right
right,
along with hard alcohol, these really cool, you know what I mean, up branded kind of things that you didn't
right,
used to have, right?
correct.
And now you have all these really cool names, and I guarantee you there are people out there that are buying tequila, buying whiskey, buying these different brands because of how the bottle looks than how good or not good it is.
I mean, I've heard such good things about Brandon Schaub, the comedian of Fighter and the Kid, about his whiskey, but it's called Tiger Thick, and I refuse to buy anything with the word thick with three C's in it. I
I, I
refuse.
well, look, there. I follow a podcast that one
Brendan
of their
Schaub, I'm an adult. I'm not buying anything with three C's in it. Thick. Stupid.
Danny's not a sports guy, but I am, and I follow a sports podcast that one of the coaches they have on there on a regular basis owns his own cigar and whiskey company, and it's called Slapdick Cigars and Slapdick Whiskey. I cannot buy Slapdick whiskey. Can't do it. I can't bring myself
Yeah.
to type into, you know what I mean, Amazon.
Right.
Y'all got any slapdick whiskey? I can't do it.
No. Yeah. So it's, but again, getting back to where this all started was Liquid Death. Listen, it pisses me off. But here's the thing: all they did, and talking about a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
inside baseball. We're now called Market Fire Podcast.
Right.
We're part of we're building this network called All Pod Media, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the new podcasts that we're bringing on, which I'm actually half of, is a kind of a podcast about church scandals. And the whole reason that podcast, the birth of it was, uh, true crime podcasts are so huge, they're
Mm-hmm.
massive. And then you take that and you add and you create this Venn diagram of girls who like murder podcasts that wear yoga pants and drive Toyota Siennas. Guess what else they do? They go to church on Sunday. So my friend and I were talking, and I was like, what we should do is take a true crime podcast and just apply it to church crimes. Like it's a winner. And all they did was um, edgy marketing, and then they said, "Hey, listen, these energy drinks are bad for you," and they probably are. Is my guess. I'm guessing they're probably bad for you. As you guys
Well,
saw,
Danny and his buddy are just missing the key component of a true crime podcast, which is a female as part of the group. But if you want to listen to Danny and his
yeah,
buddy talk about it, see, you need to get it. Anyway, my point, yes, you should definitely check out Danny's new show because as a part owner in All Pod Media, I wanted to
yeah,
take off Danny, so they
of
should
course you do.
definitely
Yeah,
listening.
so we're 2 weeks away from a formal launch. So we're going to be formally launching. I mean, we just recorded our first episode last week, and Big Man edits all of our podcasts. I used to, so when we started with Big Men Big Problems, I
Hmm.
used to do all the editing, and I hate editing. It's
And
the worst
whined
thing.
like a baby while doing it. But
That is
yes,
such a lie. I never once
whined
complained.
like a baby.
Uh-huh.
Whined like a baby.
And so I edited this one, and I was just so excited about it. But you know, to relate that to what I was saying about Liquid Death is simply that
Hmm.
they figured out this cross section of like people want to be healthy, and they did a very good job of marketing to me as a man because they're like, look at all these like waters like fruit infused, it's for chicks or whatever. They're like, how did you like? They got my goat. Like they really figured me out.
Well, I mean, look, that's what marketing's supposed to do, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's why we live in a data-driven world in today's world. That's how everything that every social media platform you have knows what ads to show you, right? They know
right.
what you looked up on your web browser 5 minutes ago, because you've
Speak
attached
for
the two.
yourself. Speak for yourself. I use Brave. You're not tracking me.
Yeah, sure. That's when you know you're being tracked, is when they're telling you you're not being tracked.
Right.
Um, but so that I don't know what else you want to get into today, but we're
No, I
gonna.
think I think we're good for today. I do just, as we always do, I like to leave you with a bit of wisdom. Big man, the economy's getting rough out there.
That's it. That's your
No,
wisdom.
no, hold on, wait. Ask me how rough it is.
How rough is it?
I saw a white girl running the weed whacker on a landscaping crew. If Lauren cannot make money selling her feed pics on the internet, the economy's in trouble. We're doomed.
You're gonna get us canceled on our very first live. But all right, that's the show, folks. We'll be back soon. Hopefully, we're gonna keep working on this to get it up to a couple of times a week. We'll
Yeah, we're
make
gonna
Danny
do.
work for his life.
Yeah, we're gonna do this on Friday. I booked this. I'm ready for Friday. So.
All right, folks. We'll see you.